Davy Jones is the most important character that Oda has been waiting to reveal for the ending of One Piece. Introduced all the way back in Long Ring Long Land, it turns out that this legendary pirate is the one whose will Rocksteady Xebec has been following. And with this piece of information, suddenly the entire parallel line of succession between Joyboy, Roger, and Luffy versus Rocks and Blackbeard comes together. Davy Jones was the missing piece. But not necessarily in the way you think. There's strong evidence that Davy Jones may have been Joyboy's dark counterpart in the time of the Ancient Kingdom, but that actually doesn't seem to be the complete picture. In fact, the Davy Jones iceberg goes a lot deeper. The more that we piece together what we know of One Piece lore, and with the confirmation that Davy Jones is a key missing figure in all of this, suddenly the truth behind both Blackbeard and Rocks begins to come together, as well as what may have happened at the end of the first world. And most importantly, it opens up a terrifying possibility of what Luffy may actually be up against in his final battle to become Pirate King. So before we begin diving down the insane Davy Jones rabbit hole, make sure to subscribe. But first, you don't want to miss this. Something huge just happened. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are now in the game, Raid Shadow Legends. That's right, we all know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from our childhoods, and now you can literally play as the Turtle Squad, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael, in a fantasy RPG. And in case you didn't know, Raid is widely considered to be the best PvE mobile game. You can fuse Donatello as a top support who heals allies and reduces cooldowns, while Michelangelo plays like a tank but also like a trickster ninja. And you can get Michelangelo for free just by logging in for 7 days starting August 21st. You can also summon Leonardo, Raphael, April, and Shredder through limited time events, and you can challenge Shredder in the event dungeon to earn the exclusive Chronophage gear set. So if you don't already have Raid, then use my link below to get it, and you will get a bunch of immediate bonuses. Right away you get a huge starter pack with the epic champion Tayrel, who's commonly believed to be the best epic in the game. Then you get another huge starter pack at level 15 with epic Rector Drath, who is one of the strongest supports in the game. But the best part is that new players can pick one free legendary of their choice. With my promo codes, you can choose between Green Warden Roark, Alice the Wanderer, Tohanarok, Tallin Foulbeard, or Sun Wukong. All promo codes are listed here, and I personally recommend using promo code Monkey King to get Sun Wukong because, well, we are all One Piece fans. These champions are available 48 hours after using my custom link or the QR code on the screen only. You cannot get them just downloading from the App Store without my link. So hit the link below or scan the QR code on screen and use the promo codes to get your legendary. And come find me under the username Mr. Morge. So that aside, to begin with, there is a very strong likelihood that Davy Jones was the evil pirate counterpart of Joyboy during the Ancient Kingdom era. The story of One Piece so far is split across 3 eras. The modern era, aka the Great Age of Pirates, featuring all of our main characters such as Luffy, Shanks, Dragon, Kobe, Akainu, and so on. The old era, aka the era of Legends, where we had all of the great names of the past, Rocks, Roger, Garp, Shiki, Whitebeard, and so on. And then finally there is the Ancient Era, aka the era of the Ancient Kingdom War featuring Joyboy and his companions, and Imu and the First Kings. The story of One Piece is largely about cycles and how history tends to repeat itself, which is why each of these eras is connected, and features parallel figures and recurring patterns. And One Piece is of course also largely about inherited will, which is why we focus on all 3 eras. The Ancient Era where the Will of D originated, the Old Era where it was picked back up again, and finally the Modern Era where it will be fulfilled. And so considering these are the 3 primary eras of One Piece, the most notable commonality across all 3 eras is of course the primary protagonist figure. Luffy of the Modern Era, Roger of the Old Era, and finally Joyboy of the Ancient Era. In reverse order, essentially the first Pirate King, and the final Pirate King. Now across all 3 eras there has also always been one primary evil, Imu. In Joyboy's era, Imu came to power, and Imu has remained in power during Roger's era and Luffy's era so far. And while defeating Imu does seem to be the primary path to freeing the world and bringing the dawn, that doesn't mean that Imu is the only antagonistic force in each era. If Imu has always represented authoritarian control, and the protagonist pirates, Joyboy, Roger, and Luffy, have always represented freedom, then there has also always been a counterpart to their representation of freedom as well. A dark antithesis to each protagonist. With Luffy, we of course have his evil counterpart Blackbeard, and if we go back one era, Luffy is following in Roger's footsteps and trying to inherit his will, but Blackbeard is the offspring of Xebec and is seemingly following Xebec's will, and so in that same vein, Roger's darker counterpart in the old era was Xebec. Just as Blackbeard is said to be Luffy's greatest pirate enemy, Xebec was Roger's greatest enemy. And ultimately, it was Xebec who Roger had to overcome in order to become King of the Pirates, just as Luffy will have to overcome Blackbeard in order to become King of the Pirates. So while the parallels clearly hold for the modern era and the old era, what about the ancient era? Joyboy was supposedly the first pirate ever, and his primary enemy would likely have been Emu, who led the war against Joyboy and the Ancient Kingdom. But Emu doesn't really fit in this flow of inherited will that has been being passed down. However, the picture is completed when we consider that just as Blackbeard is following in Xebec's footsteps, Rox is apparently a follower of Davy Jones. And Davy Jones is most definitely not a pirate of recent times. Davy Jones has been described as an ancient pirate, with his story being so old that he is considered more myth than man. So what if he actually did exist? If we look at the parallels between Roger and Rox, Roger clearly found and was inspired by Joyboy's will, while Rox has seemingly found and been inspired by Davy Jones's will. In that case, following the parallel lines that Oda has been writing so far, would that fill in the final gap? Could Davy Jones have been Joyboy's antithesis in the ancient era? Whereas Joyboy would have represented piracy in the pure form that we think of today when we see Luffy and Roger, explorers and adventurers first and foremost, would Davy Jones then have been the pirate that represented the more villainous and common archetype that we see today, of a pirate being someone who steals and takes whatever they want for themselves from others? After all, this fits exactly how Rox and Blackbeard operate. Blackbeard's entire status has been built through theft and pillaging, stealing his fruits through murder and backstabbing, stealing his crew from a supposed alliance, stealing his headquarters, so on and so forth. And Rox, of course, won his entire crew through Davy backfights in the first place, building everything he has through taking from others. And so all of this seemingly could go back to the OG, Davy Jones, the first pirate of this type. However, as exciting as the possibility of Davy Jones being from the ancient era is, I actually lied when I said that One Piece primarily covers 3 eras. The Davy Jones rabbit hole could go even deeper, as there is actually an even older era that Davy Jones may belong to. We've now discovered that even what we used to consider the ancient era was in fact actually just the second world. There is an even more ancient world that precedes it, and here is where it gets really interesting. While Davy Jones would still symbolically be the counterpart to what Joyboy represents, an ancient evil pirate in contrast to an ancient good pirate, Davy Jones may have existed in an entirely different time, the First World. This goes to the primary themes that Oda has been demonstrating throughout the story. There are 2 main types of evil that need to be fought against: authoritarian power and chaotic lawlessness. These 2 concepts exist on opposite ends of the spectrum. While Emu, the Celestial Dragons, the world government, and so on represent the problem with absolute authority and the type of world it can create, Oda also uses evil pirates to establish exactly why lawlessness isn't the answer either, as a world without order leads to bad actors being able to do whatever they want. A world where criminals have free reign is basically an absolute nightmare, and it's outright explained that this leads to the collapse of society. That's why Oda has Luffy fight both authoritarian figures and pirates, because the point is that both types of evil must be stopped for the sake of the innocent people of the world. While Blackbeard and Rox both want to be kings, it sounds like their version of a society that they want to create is a fairly lawless one, where most order and hierarchy is torn down. Their respective rules over the generally anarchic Pirate Island seem to be a microcosm of how they would rule in general. All that seems to matter on Pirate Island is that Blackbeard and Rox are on top, and beyond that everything else can exist in a state of chaos, which again would be a living hell for the common man. So with that in mind, considering the 2 types of evil that Oda stresses throughout One Piece, if we take a big step back and look at the concept of the First World and the Second World, both of which ended in disaster, what does it seem like Oda may be illustrating here? Considering the Third World is the one that will end in the dawn, where the right kind of world will be created by the right kind of person, Luffy, that suggests that the tragic endings of the First World and the Second World may be used to showcase the 2 types of evil in One Piece respectively. We know the Second World ends with the takeover of absolute authoritarian power, meaning Emu and the Celestial Dragons, so that is one type of evil represented. So then could it be that the First World ended with the world falling into absolute chaos, which would be represented by a Rox or Blackbeard-esque figure being the villain? This would make a lot of sense considering this world would be the one where the problems with lawless and chaotic freedom might be best represented, as it sounds as though man was initially enslaved in this world and then broke free, but in the process of claiming freedom, this led to the physical destruction of the world in some way, and great violence, death, and catastrophe followed. Even the descriptions of the Earth God's rage and darkness are reminiscent of Blackbeard's abilities. As such, could the villain that brought about the end of the First World by gaining too much power and plunging it into chaos have been Oda's first poster child for the type of evil that Rox and Blackbeard represent, Davy Jones? And then at the end of the Second World, the reverse end of that spectrum is represented with Emu, the absolute authoritarian taking over instead. Interestingly, while Joyboy is known as the first pirate, he is only the first pirate as far as Vegapunk knows. At the moment, no one knows anything of the first world, meaning Davy Jones could very well have been the true first pirate ever. He even may have been the one who touched the sun, and whatever impact he left behind on the world may have allowed his legend to continue onto the second and third worlds. While this is an extremely interesting possibility, the crazy thing about Davy Jones's myth is that it actually may go back even further than this, beyond the concept of the first and second world. What if Davy Jones wasn't Joyboy's counterpart in the second world? What if he wasn't the original pirate that plunged the world into chaos and darkness in the first world? What if Davy Jones was never a man at all? What if he is exactly what we are told he is, a legend? Meaning Davy Jones isn't the counterpart to Joyboy, rather Davy Jones is a counterpart to the concept of Nika. Just as it is irrelevant whether or not Nika ever actually existed, it isn't relevant whether or not Davy Jones ever actually existed. Rather, what matters is that at some point in history, people began to believe in the concept of Davy Jones, a mythical pirate with dominion over the sea. Now, what makes this possibility so exciting, as my stream viewer GDN pointed out, is that considering how notorious the myth of Davy Jones is, that means that just like there is a Nika devil fruit because people believe in Nika, that would mean that there would also be a Davy Jones devil fruit. And this is the most exciting devil fruit possibility imaginable, because for a long time readers have felt that Blackbeard is still missing one final devil fruit to really put him over the edge and become the fitting final Pirate King challenge for Luffy. And most people believe that considering Blackbeard's flag has 3 skulls, and there are 3 types of devil fruits, that Blackbeard still has one more devil fruit to get, and that this fruit should be a Zoan fruit to complete his trifecta of Paramecia, Logia, and Zoan. And considering Blackbeard currently has the most notoriously powerful Paramecia fruit, and the most notoriously powerful Logia fruit, this final Zoan fruit that he could get would likely have to be an extraordinarily powerful legendary Zoan. What more fitting ability than the legendary Davy Jones fruit? This fruit would turn Blackbeard into the true platonic ideal of the ultimate evil pirate archetype that Oda has already been molding the Blackbeard character concept after. For Luffy to face off against the ultimate pirate as his final pirate opponent, what better ability for Blackbeard to have than the embodiment of evil piracy itself? But as insane as that idea is, there is one even more terrifying final possibility that tops everything so far. But first, we're doing a huge summer sale where you can buy 2 island posters and get 3 free. That's right, for this month only, you can get 5 island posters for the price of 2. And you even get free shipping on our brand new site, onedreamstudio.com. And now when you put any 5 island posters you like into the cart, 3 of them will automatically be free. And in case you missed it, we have new versions of all the most popular islands, all vividly reimagined, and this month we're even adding in a brand new version of Elbaf. So if you've been holding off on getting your island posters, this summer sale is your chance to get them at a major discount. And if you've been waiting to complete your full collection, then now's your chance to get the last few islands that you're missing. Because if you get all the islands, you also get the final exclusive unlockable island, the Moon, sent to you for free. On top of this, all new island poster versions are going out of production after this summer sale. So get your posters while this summer sale lasts by hitting the link in the description below. Most readers are familiar with the popular theory that Rox's soul may have been placed inside Blackbeard's body via the Ope Ope no Mi's personality transplant theory. This would explain the secret of how Blackbeard is the only character in One Piece to be able to eat 2 devil fruits, as well as why Blackbeard never sleeps, as Blackbeard's body houses both his soul and Rox's. It would also explain a myriad of other things, such as Oda's emphasis on the Ope Ope no Mi's ability to transplant personalities being one of its 2 legendary abilities, as well as why Oda is spending so much time fleshing out Rox as a character, and how Blackbeard managed to scar Shanks even before he got his devil fruits, and much more. I elaborate on all that in far greater detail in this video that you can watch next, but what if there is one more layer on top of even this? What if Blackbeard's body houses not 2, but 3 souls? This is an idea that is quietly becoming popular in the One Piece fandom. After all, again, many point to Blackbeard's 3 skulls as being symbolic of something, we just don't know what yet. And Blackbeard has eaten 2 fruits so far, presumably thanks to having 2 souls, but he is still missing a Zoan fruit from his collection. So if Blackbeard is to get a 3rd fruit, a Zoan like many believe, wouldn't that require Blackbeard to actually have a 3rd soul to be able to eat a 3rd and final fruit? And so now, if we circle back to the first possibility I talked about in this video, that Davy Jones was the dark counterpart to Joyboy in the ancient era, well, what if Davy Jones never truly disappeared? What if Davy Jones escaped to the future, as we've seen is possible through Toki's fruit, and through multiple uses of the Ope Ope no Mi, now Rox and Davy Jones' souls both reside in Blackbeard's body. Just like that, this three-headed monster becomes the representation of the entire history of One Piece. One of the prevailing themes is that the existence of pirates is a backlash to the oppressive control of the gods of the world, and that after 800 years of oppression, all that accumulated sin of the Celestial Dragons is eventually going to come back with a vengeance to destroy them. A Davy Jones Rox Blackbeard combination would symbolize this concept. Imu's takeover in the ancient era birthed this dark enemy, who persisted and grew stronger and stronger over time, from the ancient era to the old era to finally the modern era, an entire millennium of hatred condensed into one singular amalgamation, carrying centuries of history on its back to finally come for the king and tear down everything he has built. This would provide a perfect contrast to the Joyboy Roger Luffy line, as their line represents the pure concept of inherited will in One Piece. One never truly dies so long as one is able to pass their will on to the future, paving the way for someone else to achieve their dreams in their stead. But the Davy Jones, Rox, and Blackbeard line would represent a bastardized version of this concept. Rather than pure inherited will, the members of this line do not accept death. Instead, they seize any method to literally continue to live on, no matter how unnatural it may be, turning descendants into vehicles to continue furthering one's dark ambition instead of simply passing their will on. And of course, I understand that the idea that Davy Jones is still alive and inside Blackbeard may sound wild at the moment. The notion that all of a sudden this unknown figure, named Davy Jones from the Ancient Kingdom, will be revealed to be inside Blackbeard alongside Rox, how would we, the reader, even feel a connection to this Davy Jones character? Especially if he is supposed to be the true, original mastermind behind everything. Well, that reservation is completely understandable, but that's simply because we have yet to get to the Ancient Kingdom flashback. Remember, not long ago, Rox was also just this mysterious unknown figure who we knew almost nothing about until his flashback began. But now that Oda is actually delving into his character, we're getting a vividly imagined and compelling villain who feels almost too exciting to leave behind in the past. Many readers are now genuinely excited at the possibility of Rox having managed to live on as an alter ego of Blackbeard's. So consider that however much effort Oda is putting into this Rox flashback, we can assume that we will get at least that much, if not more, for the most important flashback in One Piece, the Ancient Kingdom flashback. And that is where Davy Jones would get his time to be fleshed out, alongside Joyboy. So while the idea of Davy Jones resurfacing as a modern-day villain may seem arbitrary and out of place at this moment, that is simply because, at this moment, we have yet to get all of the writing around him. If Davy Jones was truly Joyboy's counterpart in the ancient era, and if Davy Jones were to get the Rox writing treatment, then I'm certain that after the Ancient Kingdom flashback, readers will be salivating at the possibility of seeing Davy Jones re-emerge in the modern day to make Luffy's final test for Pirate King an unprecedented challenge of facing this three-headed beast representing the culmination of the dark path of piracy. So no matter what the truth is, Davy Jones is going to be integral to the final conflict of One Piece. The question is, how deep does the rabbit hole go? Was he the dark counterpart to Joyboy from the ancient era? Does he predate Joyboy as the first true pirate who brought about the end of the First World era? Or does he actually go beyond any mortal and is rather a mythical concept much like Nika himself? A legend that will become a terrifying reality in the form of an all-powerful mythical Zoan fruit that Blackbeard will eat to become the ultimate pirate. Or finally, if Davy Jones was truly a man from the ancient era, what if he's actually still alive today, hidden inside Blackbeard's body, waiting and waiting for the destined time, where he and Rox will both reveal themselves to finally dethrone Imu. This vengeful trio being the ultimate representation of the darkness across all eras that Imu's rule fostered. Let me know which option you think it is in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like and subscribe. And if you want to hear what I believe a Davy Jones Devil Fruit would be able to do, you can listen to my weekly podcast that just dropped by becoming a member or by supporting me on Patreon, link in the description below. And don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link in the description below to get insane bonuses for new players with 2 epic champions.